If you want, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be my annual book unhaul video. I am getting rid of over 60 books. I have been accumulating them in the last year. I don't want them on my shelf. I'm trying to really focus on getting my shelves to a point where they represent my taste. I buy a lot of my books used, so I feel like you don't necessarily buy the ones you most want to read, and I use my library a lot, so I don't necessarily own the ones that I gave 5-star to. I'm trying to slowly accumulate them, but I really want to get them down to a point where I just like everything, or I'm really looking forward to everything. So I've been just trying a lot of books. I'm getting rid of most of them I have read. Some of them I have attempted to read, and I decided that I don't want to read them, which I feel like I've been moving away from certain genres, certain types of books in general. So yeah, a lot of them are there. A lot of them are there. I tried to put a lamp because it's been so dark for some reason in here, but you can see it right now. So you're gonna have to wait to get there. But yeah, so that's what it is. Grab a snack, grab a drink, because that's gonna be a long one. Let's just grab and go because, oh yeah, this has to go. I have mentioned my hatred for Murakami at this point. I read Norwegian Wood, I think it was 2 years ago. It made it to my worst books of the year. I quoted him, which was a mistake. The video was flagged. It was a whole thing. Made me hate him even more. But I tried to read this one because I already owned it. It's so popular, right? 1Q84. You see it everywhere at his spine. And he's such a renowned author, well-loved author, and I can't stand him. The writing is fine, but in both books, I did not make it far in this one, but in both books, you not only get a female character that randomly talks about a lesbian experience, that's the exact quote, but in this case, because that's the book I'm getting rid of, she is thinking, page like 36, she's going down a ladder next to that highway, and she's thinking about when she was 18 and had that experience. It's just, why he can't help himself, and it's just the worst. I did get some spoilers for it, which like super mild spoiler for both books, really, Norwegian Wood and 1Q84. In both of them, there is a scene where like 13-14-year-old, they basically essay someone, which like once was weird, twice makes me think things about the author. So yeah, I didn't care for it. Why am I torturing myself? Just because something is popular doesn't mean you have to like it. And frankly, sometimes I think that people feel forced to say they like it or just not say something negative, and I will happily do it for you. So, I mean, I'm sure some people actually enjoy him, but I really don't, so never again. Next, oh, Graceling. Okay, this one, no hard feelings on this one. I read the first like chapter 2 years ago. I was trying a bunch of first chapter of books, YA fantasy books specifically, trying to decide which one I wanted to read. I made it a little challenge, and I'm realizing that I'm moving more and more away from YA fantasy or just YA in general. Some of them are still worth it, but I feel like the specific trope, not necessarily this one, because again, I didn't make it far, but the really like petite girly that ends up being stronger than everyone, but like everyone wants her, she doesn't think she's pretty, you know, it's just not for me. So I think what I'm gonna do is either give it to library sale or like little library close to high school. So like, you know, it's just not for me. That's okay. One that is definitely not for me. Oh yeah, okay. The Jim Butcher series, the Dresden Files series. I read the first 100 pages of Stormfront last year. I did a vlog where I was reading books until they pissed me off. Specifically books that you had seen on my shelf and that you thought I was going to not like them, which you were right. I got rid of 3 books. It was very cathartic. Well, 4 in this case. I got them library sale a few years ago thinking I was going to love them because I wanted to read a lot of fantasy, and I kept seeing this series on like must-read list, you know, fantasy. And I've realized since that we don't necessarily have the same taste, and you know, that's okay, but this isn't okay. But seriously, I feel like I can't stand these kind of books anymore. First of all, people kept saying, oh, it gets better after like 5 books. I'm not going to do that to myself. Like, why would I have to go through 5 books to get something good when I have so many unread books on my shelf? You can't see yet. Eventually, you'll see it. But I have my giant jar of books, which beginning of the year, there were like 500 books that are unread from my shelf in there for a challenge. Like, why would I keep 4 books or more than that I'm not going to enjoy and force myself to go through just because they're popular? Like, it doesn't make sense. So yeah, I read the first 100 pages, vlogged it. It was really funny because I hated it. And I feel like it's very, again, cathartic to just read you those quotes. I'll link that if you're interested because it was funny, but I remember that in the first 100 pages, you are like presented 4 different female characters, one of them being, and all 4 of them are sexualized. and like objectified. Like even the dead one, like you're not safe even in death. Like it's just no. And I understand the main character is supposed to be like, oh, cheeky, flirty. I get that, but like I'm not enjoying this. I'm not enjoying this. So I didn't force myself to continue. Good for me. So they are going to probably go at the same spot, and a teenage boy might like them. So speaking of which, another series that is really not for me. This is the Harry, I think it's Holy, from what I read from the book, The Bat and the Snowman. I feel like once again, there was some hype. I wanted to try them because why not? But I've since realized, even before starting these, that crime, like detective books, don't really work for me, especially when it's a male character, because they're always so problematic. And like, I don't care for it. Like, I know that they're purposely usually written like that, but I don't enjoy it. I read for my enjoyment. This is not fun for me. In this one, I read like maybe 3 chapters, and like first chapter, the male character arrives to Australia and says the N-word. And then again, chapter 3, the other detective kicks a dog. Like, I don't know. No. So yeah, I thought about maybe giving this one a shot too, but like, do I really want to? You can try to tell me that it gets better, but like, I don't want to do that. Again, too many books that I'm looking forward to trying to really force myself. Just because they're popular, right? It doesn't mean that they're actually good. Oh, that's another great example. The Housemaid. This is so hyped. I've seen this absolutely everywhere and I was excited. I had heard that they were more like popcorn reads, which I agree. This was very readable. That's the only positive thing I will say though, because this was so badly written to the point that I thought it was on purpose. And like, not a spoiler, but like I genuinely thought the main character was Delulu. Like she was imagining these things because it made no sense. It was so badly written. Anyway, main female character, she's down her luck. You know, she went to prison. You don't really know why. She's homeless. She finds this job as a live-in like nanny housemaid, and she basically lives in the attic. Very dramatic. And you don't know who to trust. Is she the crazy one? Are the people the crazy ones? Yeah, I had a lot of strong opinions about this, but nothing positive. This is going to make it to my worst books of the year. So I might keep this copy just so I can like show you more and like quote more in my worst books of the year, but it's just straight up badly written. The only reason I will read one more book by the author is because I already own it, and it's the Never Lie one. So I'll give that one a shot, but if this one is not amazing, I'm never reading anything else because I don't get it. I mean, I get it because it's readable, but like, I know some of you commented on the video that sometimes you feel like people just don't read, so anything seems kind of good, which that sounds harsh, but I kind of agree. So next, I finally got around to reading the Millennium series, and I liked book 1. Actually, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I felt very late to the hype, but I do think it was worth it. I really enjoyed the whole like murder mystery. This journalist is hired by this rich man to solve it because it happened on an island. It was basically just family and family friends. Like it has to be one of them that did it, and he doesn't want to pass away before figuring it out. So I thought the concept was really interesting. I did find that the journalist is a little bit of a self-insert because I don't remember if it 40s and 40s, whatever. And he's like flirting with everyone, sleeps with everyone. Like, but I still felt like overall it was a really enjoyable book. And if anything, it felt almost a bit feminist, like considering that it was like, I don't know, 20 years old or something. So I enjoyed book 1 and I'm keeping it. I'm considering it a standalone. I did read book 2 and 3, The Girl Who Played with Fire and The Girl Who Kicked a Hornet's Net. I'm going to hide this one because it's so flashy, but they were not edited, I'm sure. I know the author passed away, I think before these two were published, and it shows, especially this one is so bad. Like there's an Insta love that comes out of nowhere that is super badly written. Like, see randomly, one of the quotes you have, but you give off the most incredible sexual vibrations. Like it's just so weird. Yeah, so not a fan of these two books. I would have preferred to keep the other one as a standalone, so that's what I'm gonna do. So they have to go. Oh my gosh. Okay, this one I know is a bit more controversial, but The City of Brass, I attempted to read this, no joke, 3 times over years and years and years. I think I started it the first time 2017, 18, and I've been trying and trying. I tried the audiobook. I can't make it past 50%. It's just boring. It just really is. And you can see this time I put it down at chapter 16. I can't do it. I just feel like it's just very long and nothing happens. And people keep saying it gets better, but like 50% 3 times, I think that's enough. So it's not for me, which is, again, okay. This is an adult fantasy series, the first book. So this one I did finish, The Golem and the Genie. This had been on my shelf unread for years, and during a challenge I picked it up. And at first I was enjoying it. I really enjoyed the writing style. I feel like it's giving a little bit like historical fiction, literary fiction, but like fantasy. So if you're trying to get into fantasy, you might enjoy this one. But then I eventually got bored. I felt like it was quite long and then lost interest in the story. There's also a genie that is like 200 years old and ends up with like a 15-year-old or something, which like, why is there always stuff like that? But yeah, that's not really the reason I didn't care for it. It just got boring. So I know a lot of people like it, but I am not them. Similarly, kinda, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia. I have not been able to say that name once. Encyclopédie of Fairies. I really wanted to like this. I was really looking forward to that one. I thought this was going to be a really fantastic, cozy fantasy. And like, it kind of is, because the main female character goes to this remote village to study fairies. She's trying to write a book. And, you know, I thought I was going to like the vibes, but it was really, really, really boring. And then by the time I put it down at page 93, yep, I couldn't stand the beginning of the romance. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It took me a week to read 93 pages. Usually I try to read about 100 pages a day. Like it wasn't working for me. This is such a disappointment. I really thought this is probably going to be my most disappointing books of the year. This was one of the first books that I read this year. I just couldn't do it. And it seems like people were either loving this or felt very similarly as me. So if that makes you feel better, you're not alone. But yeah. I Am Legend. I own a prettier copy. That's the reason I'm getting rid of it. There are a few books in here. I feel like some of them will probably make you question my taste. It's because I own a prettier copy. So yeah, I don't know where it is though. There. Specifically, this is the one. So I love these SF Masterwork editions or classic sci-fi. But yeah, it's prettier than this one, so I'm getting rid of it. I really like that the ending makes sense in this one compared to the movie. I love the movie, but they're completely different books, stories. But this one, the ending explains the title, which the movie doesn't. But yeah, this was good. A lot more like sexually dark than I expected, but overall a good story. I didn't hate it. Again, I own another copy, so we're good. The Thief. I actually read book 2, I think it was last year, and this is book 1. So forgettable. I really don't understand. Well, I don't feel like I've heard that much about it recently, but like for a while I kept seeing it and no, just super forgettable. Can't even tell you what it is about, really. The next one is An Enchantment of Ravens. I also read just the first couple pages and I realized it's not for me. It's another YA fantasy and someone will be happy to find it. Next we have No Exit. This is a thriller. A group of people are stuck during a snowstorm at a rest stop. You follow a female character who is stuck there. She was trying to go see her mother who is dying, and she sees this girl stuck in a van and it has to be one of the people. The story, in theory, is interesting, but there was something about the writing that I just really didn't connect with. Like, I really, really did not care for it, but I forced myself to finish it, and it was okay. Wicked Saints. I've heard bad things about it. This is another YA fantasy, and the author is controversial now. I feel like, again, I have so many books to read. I don't care enough to want to support them anymore. Then we have Fourth Wing. I did vlog this, which... Was it entertaining to vlog it? Yes, absolutely. I did laugh because this was so badly written once again. Like a shit show. The fact that the main female character overhears a conversation twice while she is up a tree should tell you more than enough. The dragons were a lot. There were just so many plot holes. The romance was so cringy. You get horny dragons. Like, can we not forget that? That was something. And yeah, you get the battle at the end. That's kind of boring, to be honest. And yeah. I don't want to support the author anymore anyway, but I wasn't going to continue because I was trying to convince myself maybe, but like the ending wasn't good. The Witness for the Dead. This is part of the same world as The Goblin Emperor that I really, really love. One of the best books that I've read this year so far. And it's like a companion novel and I don't think it's worth picking up. You're following basically my least favorite character from the other book. So it wasn't up to a great start, but it's supposed to be like a murder mystery in a fantasy world, which I feel like I enjoy. More and more I've been reading those, but this one is just not one of them. So yeah, just wasn't for me. I preferred the other one. I couldn't stop thinking I would rather follow the other characters, so that didn't really help. Another one that I own a prettier copy, we have Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. I don't think it's that good though. Am I the only one? I feel like there's just so much hype and I just thought it was okay. Same with the movies, to be honest. Another one that I have a prettier copy is The Andromeda Strain by Michael Crichton. I actually really did like this. So if you like old school sci-fi, First Contact with Aliens, I guess-ish, Triller, I would recommend this. Just be warned, the writing is extremely dry, but this was good. I thought it was good. I just don't need to own 2 copies. Another one that bored me to tears, Migrations. This is a really pretty cover, isn't it? But yeah, I tried it as an audiobook to finish it. I couldn't stand it, which some people liked it, but I didn't. Another one that I put down really quickly is Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. Again, I'm trying to really respect that feeling of like, I'm not gonna like this, because when you force yourself, you end up in a worse reading slump of your life, which I've been in on and off for a while, so I don't want to read anything else that could put me back in there. So not for me. I did like the idea of reading more books where you're following an older main character, and that is one, but I've read better ones. So another one that is going to make it to, I don't know, my most disappointing or my worst books of the year, I haven't decided yet. Everyone in my family has killed someone. I thought I was going to absolutely love this one, and I mean love this one. Isn't it dark suddenly? Clouds. But yeah, in theory it sounded fun because you have this family reunion, again, in remote mountain cottage, and there is a dead body. It has to be someone from the same family, but the family, everyone has killed someone. So concept really interesting, but the sense of humor started annoying me very quickly. So again, it will be hit and miss depending on if you don't mind a sense of humor or not. But yeah, it got boring and the ending wasn't worth pushing through. Ooh, Blacktop Wasteland. I forgot this was here. I absolutely adored Razorblade Tears by the same author. Like 5 out of 5. I have been recommending it a lot. I've been calling it like a dad recommendation because it reads like a movie, like a action movie. And obviously I'm not a dad and I loved it, but like people will ask you like, what should I give, you know, my brother or my dad or something if they like books. That's an easy one to recommend because of that. And I tried to read more by him. I read 2 more books by him and I didn't really care for them. So that's one of them. I just feel like the language is just quite, I don't know, violent for me. And the story didn't really compensate for my lack of interest in the writing. But like in theory, it sounded interesting. It just, I got bored. Basically, like in every one of his books, the main character has like a dark past and it comes back to haunt him. So let's save the lamp. There you go. I tried. Anna Karenina. I just own 2 copies. I don't need to. I didn't care for the book. I tried to. I really tried to. I liked Anna, but the book is not about Anna, okay? You've been misled if you thought so. And I do agree with the joke that the best character is the train at the end. So this was part of my worst books of last year, right? I feel like one brain cell left at this point. Les Fourmis, which was awful. I think it's Empire of the Ants in English. Yeah, I gave this 1 star. It deserved it. In theory, it sounded cool, which is what I resigned. When the concept sounded interesting, but the execution is awful, you are following back and forth humans versus ants. So this man inherits this house and he's told to not go in the basement. People disappearing there. Like, it sounded cool, but it wasn't. The next one, I'm definitely not the target audience, and it is Vigilance. This is set in the US, future-ish, dystopian-ish future, where they created this TV show that basically they sent shooters, could be anywhere, and it's like bad guys versus the good people with pew-pews, and like it wasn't for me. Like, I don't disagree with the message of the author, not for me. Hyperion, super popular, must read sci-fi, classic sci-fi, even though it was published in 1990. No, I really thought I was going to love this. I thought this was going to be a 5-star. You're following this group of people that are going to a destination. They're not really sure why, and they're all sharing their story. And out of the, is it 6 story? There's only one that's interesting. And one of them, there's only one female character, and like, spoiler, if you don't want to know, it's not a huge spoiler, but like, spoiler, you're warned. She's there just to be pregnant with the precious, precious seed. Like, 1990. It's not that old. Why are we doing this? So yeah, wasn't a fan. I was really, really disappointed. I thought I was going to love this because of the hype, but like, I love sci-fi. I don't love this. And then I've heard more about the author and I have more of his books. I don't want to support him. Like, no. So yeah. Parable of the Sower. Emily, Octavia Butler is your favorite author. Yes, I just have a prettier edition. There's another one by her somewhere. Yeah, this is just an ugly edition. I have bought any copies I could find of hers because I really felt like I was going to love her, and I did. I do. Book 2 in this series is my favorite book by her. Not my favorite series, but my favorite book by her. This was meant to be, I think, like a 5-book series, and you can absolutely read it as a duology, which is what she would always do. Her books end not on a cliffhanger, like you can stop there anyway, which I think is really smart to do. But yeah, she was in a bad writer's block. She was depressed by this story. She mentioned that. And I understand why, because this feels so close to home. You have this movement, this religious movement in the US, a far-right president that has the slogan, "Make America Great Again," is trying to, you know, get elected. And you have company towns. The whole thing is such a mess. So post-apocalyptic book. And yeah, very close to home. This was really good. Book 2 more than book 1. It has one of my most hated characters of all time. It's just nice to finally talk positively about a book in this video. But yeah, this was worth it, but I'm only getting rid of it because I have a pretty edition. There you go. Another time that I decided to be extremely cutthroat is this series. This is Ancillary Justice. I am getting rid of the whole trilogy after just attempting the first one because I had such a reaction to it. You know, sometimes you start a book and you're like, oh, this is really not working for me. I understood absolutely nothing. And like, I don't think I'm that... But some books are just really written in a way that is confusing to you. Maybe it's because English is not my first language. Maybe it's just not that good. I can believe what I want, and I'm choosing to believe that this sucked. So another one that I did not finish and I'm getting rid of is On a Pale Horse. What is wrong with that author? Once again, the female character seems to be there just to advance the male story, the male character's story. It was really bad, like really instantly bad. So no. In theory, again, sounded interesting. I obviously bought it hoping I was going to like it because you're following death as a character. Like the main character kills death and they have to replace. How is that not cool? But with that writing, Another one I put down really quickly was Luna, New Moon. Once again, I had issues with the story, the writing. Right away, you have like a bunch of teenagers that are naked and I'm like, and then you have the quote, "Her brother though, he gives the best job." Listen. I feel like sometimes I sound like a prude, but like, I don't want to read this. Next, this one is also a situation where I just don't feel like the target audience. I'm not a teenage boy. And I feel like, again, it sounds so harsh when I say it like that sometimes, but like the sense of humor, not for me. This is the Black Tongue Thief. I also read this in my reading books you think I'm going to hate. You were right. I don't remember the exact quotes, but there, I put a post-it on this one, so I'll just read the first one I found. This one said, "I'll take 14 because I'm sentimental and you remind me of the smelly old woman who took my virginity." The kid is underage still when he's saying that, so like... So, no, that wasn't the only reason I put it down, but like that's just one of the quotes. A few books that I have not read. There are still some that I have read, but I'm seeing a couple, so I don't tend to get rid of books without trying them, but once in a while, I don't need to. The first one being Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I saw this book everywhere. I thought I was going to do like a vlog of like reading, you know, really popular nonfiction or like maybe like Finance Bro kind of nonfiction because a girlie wants to know too, but I never got around to reading it because I kept hearing more and more bad things, and then more recently the author, it came out that he's like $1 billion in debt. So yeah, no, I think I will take my advice from the girlies from now on. The next one is Gun, Germs, and Steel. I've heard bad things about it. Feel free to convince me otherwise in the comment section. I might try it from the library as an audiobook, but really, I've realized that those kind of historical history books, that specific style, doesn't really work for me, so I'll just pick something I'm interested in and read that instead. I picked it up because it was really, you know, you see it on a lot of lists and 25 cents library sales. So, and the next one is about Einstein, which I picked this up years and years ago, and I've since learned more about him, and I would rather read a book about his wife. So, her work. I think these are the last ones that I didn't even attempt. I am getting rid of The Bone Season and The Mime Order, not because they're not good. It's because the author has been rewriting them. I've read her other books, The Priory of the Orange Tree, and then the prequel to it, A Day of Fallen Night. Loved both of them. So I want to read more by the author, but then a few of you told me that these are not like the real ones anymore. She is, or has been, rewriting them, and they're coming out, and she's continuing the series. So I'll pick up those eventually, but yeah, I might as well not attempt those so it's not confusing when I attempt to continue. I don't know details, but okay. I did read Divine Rebels, did not care for it. Once again, a lot of hype. I would consider this YA. I don't know if people agree, but you have these like journalist enemies to lovers, which like I enjoyed fine in the beginning, but then the insta love, I know it's not instant, but the love story becomes way too much and I lost interest completely. So no. Another YA fantasy book that I put down because I just really wasn't feeling it. This one, I've heard that it really gets better, but like I'm trying to, once again, respect the feeling of like, this is not for me. And you're following, you know, she's a teenager, her boyfriend took her virginity, lied to her, blah, blah. I don't really care anymore. So not for me. This one, The Helm of Midnight, another one of those like murder mystery in a fantasy world, which sounded really interesting, but the writing was awful. I just could not. Why the fuck is there a fucking bee in the room? What the? How did he come in? I'm literally shaking. It's the second one. What the f- I literally broken down. Oh my gosh. It's the second one. What am I supposed to do? How did he come in? I'm literally terrified. Like, it's not the same room, but twice. Holy sh**. I'm just gonna finish this video, and then I'm gonna panic. Yeah, it's under a book right now. I had to hit her. Her? Are they her? Him? I don't know. I had to hit it on the window, but it was the screen, so like I didn't get it properly at first. And then it fell on the floor, and I'll include a picture of the victim. I'm freaking out. Okay. I am getting rid of technically 4 books in this series. If you see the trauma in my eyes, I swear. Holy shit. Technically 4 books. One of them is an ebook, so you're not going to see it. It's the ebook that I actually tried in this series. This is the only one that I am tempted to give a second shot to it, especially this is the second book, right? The Likeness by Tana French. I attempted the first book. I only read the first chapter, but it's like 50 pages, and I couldn't stand once again that you were following main character. It's detective, blah, 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 and he's just an awful person, and I just can't stand it. Again, I did vlog this. This was part of my Read It Unhaul series. For a month, I was picking up a bunch of mystery thrillers somehow, and I hated this one. I put it down, and I just haven't been wanting to continue, even though it's super popular. I had 4 books in this series. I really thought I was going to love it, but I'm, again, trying to just respect that if I don't like it, try to stop trying to force yourself. So yeah, but I really was debating giving this one a shot because apparently you're following a different character, but like book 1 was hard. Yeah, I didn't make it very far also in this one. This is Outliers. I don't care for the author to begin with, and this isn't really my kind of book anyway, but I had bought it because, you know, you would see it a bunch on list. I recognize the author, the book at a library sale, so, you know, 25 cents, but it's not for me. It's not for me. I feel like there's been more and more controversy about him too. The next one is M for Malice. Once again, this was a lot. I couldn't stand the main female character, and then I realized that it is part of a series. Maybe you should have started with the first one, but I won't because I really could not stand her. She was giving me strong pick-me vibes, like in the worst way possible, so no thank you. Oh, another Dan Simmons, which I don't want to support him, so bye-bye. I gave myself a little heart attack again. The Humans, I was like, why is this here? It's because I have 2 copies. I don't need 2 copies. I don't need to hoard books. I'm just going to give this one away to a friend and force them to read it. I love this. This was probably my favorite book by the author. Yeah, this is my favorite book. I feel like the concept is interesting. You're following an alien that is sent on Earth, basically as a punishment. They have to kill the person that found this math equation that they think we're not ready for, and then replace him and kill everyone that knows about it. So it starts a little silly and then becomes more and more serious, and I really enjoy this. I want to reread this. I don't reread a lot of books, but I will with this one because it was worth it. And yeah, this is the edition with the ugly thing we have in the middle of her face, according to the book. So yeah, this was great. Do recommend. Again, Octavia E. Butler. Love this. Do not freak out. This is the whole trilogy in one book. And it's not my favorite cover. I got some really prettier editions. I'm glad that they're finally bringing out more, hopefully more, because I love her. She deserves so much more hype. But yes, this was fantastic. This is probably my favorite series by her. And it's First Contact with Aliens. Essentially, we all each other during a nuclear war, and the aliens scoop in, save whatever is left of us. And the question is, will we find a middle ground with them? Will something that they see as a good thing is something that is compatible with us? I don't know. You have to read it to figure it out, but I did really enjoy it. It does have uncomfortable moments because that's how she writes her books, but it was good. Into the Water. Didn't care for it with too many characters. It was boring and forgettable. Yeah. The Last Party by Claire McIntosh. I wasn't sure I was going to read more books by her and decided to give this one a shot, and don't do it. It was so bad. It was so bad. Basically, again, murder mystery, and you will be bored out of your mind. You don't want more than this, trust me. Lone Women, it started really good. It's like a horror book. You're following this main character. She is traveling with this big, how do you call that? Trunk. And people disappear in it. That's all I'm going to say. It's not bad, but I feel like the second half was really boring, so I really struggled, so I don't really want it on my shelf. And then we have The Whisperers, which I really enjoyed the push by her. Really did. I love this cover. I almost wanted to keep it just for that. But this book was not good. I liked that in the push. Yes, she was still being kind of depressing about motherhood. And but it felt like a nitty-gritty way of admitting that, it's not easy, blah, 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 children and everything. I get that. But in this one, it was just depressing. You have this child that was pushed from this window, mysterious circumstances, but then her mother had been overheard yelling at the kid during a party, so people think that she do it kind of thing, and you hear a bunch of the drama going on in everyone's life on that specific street, and yeah, I just don't really care. I would call this a domestic thriller. It's just not my thing. Then we have Notes on an Execution. I love Lavender, yet I'm not keeping this book because this was one of the most boring books that I've read. Was it last year? Yes, last year. It's not for me. Once again, you're following this murderer. You're basically overhearing about his life through the women in his life, which in theory sounds really cool. And again, it started good, and then I just lost interest. So I don't get the hype. Oh, and then we have the whole series. I did read Ender's Games, which I feel like everyone loves, sci-fi, blah, blah, blah. And then I attempted to read Speaker for the Dead and didn't make it far. This was before I started Booktube. Because again, I love sci-fi. This was super hype. I thought, maybe I'm going to love this. Maybe not, because this was not good. I don't have the quotes. That's my only sad thing about it, because I read it before doing videos, so I didn't think about putting post-its. But I'm not really personally a fan of stories where you follow extremely smart children, and they start, they're 5 in there, and at the end they're what, 8? Not really a fan of it. And I remember a few quotes annoying me, but again, I don't have them, but I don't get it. I know it's popular. I get that the ending is a big ending, but no. And then I heard about the authors, so I kept this on my shelf just because I thought I was eventually going to review a bunch of classic sci-fi, and I'm realizing I don't need to own it to do that, and I don't even have the quotes, and do I really want to do that? Because I don't know, but no. I think that's it. I'm gonna go freak out and try to figure out where the freaking bees are coming in. I don't know. I'm literally I saw it, like it was So I hope this was entertaining. Overhearing me murdering a bee and shaking. I'm still shaking. I'm so scared of them, and it's the second one I've had to kill. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thumbs up, subscribe. I'll put more fun videos to watch. And I will see you in my next one. Bye. What the heck?